Hello everyone, this is Fantastic Worlds and Hipster Dude's Funky Cat welcoming you back to Lovecraft Country and the Secret World Interludes. In fact, the first post-main story interludes. Now, if you're going through these episodes after the fact rather than real time, you'll notice that this is going to be happening before a couple other ones further down the line. I always put these into thematic order, but trust me, you'll be able to keep up. Any case, we're going to be going over the three primary supernatural factions, the Kaiden. In other words, the Kaiden district of Tokyo. Dude, respect the camera. Come on. Anyways, so the deal with Kaiden is that since it is the area that is closest to the gate to Agartha, thus it's where all the natural amount of anima comes out to infuse the world. This is where all the supernatural beings, natural or mortal or foreign, like demons, for example, congregate. So therefore, they had to make rules about how they weren't going to tear each other apart into fragments. Now, we're going to be going over the three primary supernatural factions that are still all around. They're not primarily mortal. Two are mortal, one is demonic. We'll get to him in a moment. But first, we're going to start off with the Templar analog, because each one of these is an ally to one of the main factions. Now, this one right here that is based off of Susano's Diner is an ancient group of... Excuse me. Oh, I hit the wrong thing up. My apologies. Here, just... You need a little help with that? Yeah. Yes, the Diner is actually the secret headquarters for a whole bunch of warrior samurai that have been hunting demons for millennia. And they haven't really upgraded their tech that much. I mean, these guys over here have some assault rifles, and kudos for you for modernizing, but you're supposed to be behind the barriers. That's how these things were. Gods. Could you not? We're working here. Thank you. Yeah, you're getting infected with filth, by the way, guys. But yeah, as you can see, this has become a sanctuary for a few survivors. Now, not a lot of survivors, mind you, because this is some pretty awful stuff happening in the streets. And we'll be getting to that into probably the next interlude, the Kaiden itself. But again, I want to deal with the supernatural factions first. Now, this is a Templar analog with the straight colors, and as you can see, they're recruiting and training the survivors. And yeah, that's one of the primary exits here. Dude, I want your sprint. That's right, get back up. Back up, that's the way you train. It's one of the primary exits of this area, but as you can see, this zone, the people here are not terribly enthused. I mean, they've got a level of security, they've got power, they've got guys who are equipped to survive 14th centuries level of technology, but I don't know how many people think that these guys have. I mean, it's like with the Templars in the main game. You'll love them because everybody loves the monster hunters that supposedly, by the way, come out to help the helpless, but they tend to be one of the ones with the least amount of control and power because they're playing by rules no one else is. But yeah, inside the restaurant, the diner, as it were, you can see that there is, in fact, a modicum of normalcy where people here are pretending that everything is okay to some degree. Just enough protection to pretend it's all not happening. Now, let's not forget, by the way, these guys have been here for 18 months. You guys, if you recall, the game starts in October 2012, which is the time in which a bomb goes off in Kaiden, which is here, and we'll get to that in time. And 2015, when our character comes through the time portal, which means that of course, the Templars have been supplying these guys, but they won't pull people out because of the potential filth infestation, which makes me think there's probably, here, if I'm going to talk, might as well be facing camera. If there's probably been a lot more people before, and the stress just does them in one way or the other. I mean, hi. Yeah, guys, go about your business there. Anyways, and they're just... It's kind of hard to live in a continuous siege. I mean, in our world, we like to pretend this doesn't happen, but it does happen all the time. And the siege of Sarajevo happened for over 1,018 days, depending on how you count it. And that's 3.5 years. Longer than this, and that's the real world. And of course, some places have been at war for practically ever. And a lot of times, this is what you see. These little pockets of people trying to pretend it's normal, while outside the world is tearing itself apart. But let's deal with the leader of this faction. Okay. The Jingu clan. Okay, so I have a suspicion that Gozen is here is actually Japanese divinity or Japanese immortal, and that she has been doing this for a long time, but she's also failed to adapt to modern standards, which is one of the reasons why the clan is so far behind in regards to the others. Now, the demons also are kind of slothful in this regard because they're just using their own natural, supernatural power to overcome things. But of course, the third faction does seem the most nimble on its feet, and is the one that comes out of the main story the best, because I think that they've got it nailed down. So you use the elements of both technology and magic. But let's talk to Ms. Gozen.
My name is Gozen. I am me.
Okay. We're going to be vaguish about this.
I have the honor of leading the Jingu clan, as did my ancestors, stretching back to Queen Himiko herself.
I don't actually...
There was Tokiwa Gozen, Shizuku Gozen, Tsuchida Gozen, Tomoe Gozen, and others.
I should probably know who the Gozen is, and I'm not sure the great Oracle Google is going to tell me anything useful. No, Gozen is actually apparently a SEO for a... Oh, here we go. Okay. Oh, I get it. Fushigami Gozen is... female samurai clan of the late 12th, early 13th century. Are we saying this is probably her? Huh. We're in one of the relatively few Japanese warrior women commonly known in historical or classical fiction. So this is why she was chosen for the template by the devs, because she's be more familiar to work with, and they don't probably have a lot of templates to do.
Before the explosion, I received a vision, a warning to mobilize the Jingu clan.
Wait a minute, where did that come from?
With much urgency and little haste, I came down from the mountain.
You lived in a mountain? Cool. I'm sorry. Where did this come from? Wasn't there a second ago. Oh my god, it activates when I ask her. So who is this mysterious Gozen? She comes from a long line of Jingu clan samurai, including Tuako, Shizuko, Tyoko, and Tons Gozen. What is time to us? We have eye stalks stretched to all ages, because we're of course outside of time, as I've explained multiple times before. Aha. The Gozen in every age looks remarkably like the next. Curiouser and curiouser. Yep, she is an immortal, basically always posing as being identical to her mother. So she disappears for a while, goes to the mountain to die and train her daughter, and her quote aunt daughter comes down 30 years later, and everybody else doesn't remember what she looked like before. Imagine having that many funerals must be rather strange to one's ego. So hopefully she'll remember where we were on this.
My name is Gozen.
No, we're gonna have to skip past this. Sorry. Sometimes.
I have the honor of leading the Jingu clan, as did my ancestors.
Sorry, I'm just actually curious who Queen Himiko was.
Shizuku Gozen,
Ooh.
Tsuchida Gozen, Tomoe Gozen, and others.
Shamanist Queen? Oh, I like her already. Himiko, ruler of Wa. 170 to 248 AD. Oh my god. One day I gotta look her up when I've got more time. But anyways, tell me about Tokyo.
The explosion. It was more than a bomb. It was a defilement. The city is so wounded.
Yes.
It is a festering sore, oozing with demons, with yokai. Those who survive find themselves in Yomi on Earth.
Japanese version of hell.
The few that remain, there is no civilization, save for what we hide away in our hearts or carve with our blades.
Like this little island she's created here. Again, no, I hate to say this, but she's also pointing the point of view that civilization or any form of sanctuary ultimately comes down to having the force to hold it. But of course, you then have to ask yourself what force is moral enough to do so, and at what point do you make so many moral sacrifices to keep your civilization that you no longer are a civilization, but simply another form of barbarianism.
When this began, I told them all that we were defending ashes and embers from the hungry maw of the final days, and any man or woman among us could leave the city. I would think no less of them. They all stayed. Every last one.
That'll be honor for you. And I give them props for doing so. I will not say they were foolish. If one has one's duty, I mean, let's face it, our characters now has an eternal duty to defend Gaia. And it's one of the reasons why I announced myself when you first came in that episode, back in the 90s, I think, the 90s, the episode, not 1990s, that I gave her the formal address as being a warrior of the court of the Fae, because it was essentially who we are, the immortals of Gaia.
We are the Jingu. We are the remains of the samurai in a less civilized time. We hold to the teachings of Shinto. We believe in the kami. We believe in the quiet dignity of honor and responsibility. But when the time comes, we clang like a terrible bell. We are the song that reminds demons to tremble.
Thing is, she's probably... All right. In the real world, samurai were not quite this noble. In fact, you know anything about how the samurai came to an end, why it is romanticized in literature, both native and foreign. They were some pretty messed up people. The battle between those who aligned themselves with the Western colonization forces and those who chose to remain this way of the samurai is romanticized sometimes, but both factions had their issues. I mean, the people who wanted to maintain the way of life, you're not doing so for an enlightened period, is because this is how they maintained their power. But anyways, let's get... She represents the ideal, like the same way that we see in fiction the knightly orders that supposedly go around in King Arthur style and defend the helpless. They're really put an airbrush to the actual violent warrior class that kept the feudal system running.
We believe fault is what others assign you, and responsibility is what you assign yourself, and we assign ourselves much.
I cannot agree with you on that. Responsibility can be assigned to you by someone else. The question is, but you have to accept it. But you also have to accept that if you walk away from it, whatever happens is somewhat your fault as well. Sometimes we can be asked to do heavy burdens, like, of course, the bees, who essentially give up their mortal lives in the defense of their cosmic mother.
We fight to hold what territory we have, to keep it from the loathsome grasp of those who would profit from the misery and chaos. The two remaining gangs, the House-In-Exile and the Korinto-Kai.
You know, I hate to tell you this as a fellow defender of the status quo, but ultimately we are doomed. Change happens. Just don't want it to be this change.
Demons? You wish my counsel on demons?
She's going to say kill them all.
There are no good demons. Not even dead demons. Even their corpses offend the earth. In Tokyo, there are 9 clans of Oni. And oh, this must be a misery time for them, with the skulls and the screams and the ashen shadows stretched out on the subway walls. How they must dance.
Yeah, I'm not really big on them either. The thing is, because I chose Illuminati, I am linked to the House-In-Exile. In fact, when I walk into here, she basically curses me every time. I'm choosing to ignore it. But the reason I chose Illuminati was pretty much for Kirsten. I love her snark. And the fact is I can't do it. I can't be like the Templars or the Jingu clan. I have to be a bit morally flexible in how I determine what the right thing to do is. It's great to defend all these people, but she is literally expending all of her resources on the defensive while the other two are expanding their territories. Now, this doesn't say I should say to abandon them, but she might want to rethink how she addresses the other two. If you've gone with me this far, you know that in the final episodes they all agree to a temporary truce while I sort out Lilith. But more permanent alliance, I think, would have been a good idea. You don't make alliances with friends. You make them with people you have common goals with at that moment.
9 Oni clans, and then there is the House-In-Exile. They are demons, shunned by demons, unwelcome even in the many hells.
I know.
They are led by the degenerate spirit in Beda. He holds loathsome court in the bathhouse. Imbeda profits off the disarray, and now he looks to the outside world. I hear he is currently wooing the Illuminati.
Oh yeah, Kirsten isn't going to have much to do with him. He's got a thing for Kirsten. We'll get into that in a bit. The thing is, yes, honestly, the odd thing is his sloth is ironically what makes him less of a problem. He doesn't really that ambitious. He would just like to sit there, make some money, and well, let's face it, they have sex slaves. The thing is about the bathhouse is that both in Japan and in other countries, including ours probably, bathhouses are usually used as fronts for organized crime, in this case just the common underworld, not the regular underworld, and of course usually will be staffed and such with people who have been trafficked for a price from their country. Anyways, let's talk about the Korinto-Kai.
They are what remains of the criminal underworld, these occulted gangsters. Yakuza normally at least pretend at honor, at showing a public face, but these Korinto-Kai strut in the shadows. They call themselves Ninkyo Dantai, a chivalrous organization. But they are bōryokudan.
Bōryokudan. Probably spelled that wrong. Definitely spelled that wrong. Sorry. Probably shouldn't indulge myself with this. But I do like to know what I'm doing.
They are
there we go.
They took control of gambling in Tokyo in the 1920s. But they went beyond. They found more, always more. Their connections to the occult gave them an edge against their rivals.
Ah, okay, so this, honestly, I would, Tamio being an immortal, or at least longevity, would not surprise me. But yeah, the thing about occulted, cult technically just means hidden. You mean that they are connected with magical abilities, which is somewhat rumored to be the case with some organizations, but it could also just be a rumor that they put up to make themselves seem more powerful.
They are led by Daimon Kyota. He's a little better than the Oni demons, and perhaps he is even more dangerous in his own way. He knows things he should not know. He has the audacity of a man who suddenly walks on air simply because he knows it breaks an important law. He is a walking obscenity, and there is something behind his eyes.
Oh no, hang on, guys. Okay, I'm sorry about that. We're going to see if we can pick up from where we left off. I believe we finished the Korinto-Kai, and we're moving on to the secret world.
I find this term strange. There is no secret world. There is no normal world. There is only the world.
Correct. That is one hell of a lot of logic behind that one. Things are as they are. Basically heaping a framework of how you think the world should operate and then being upset when it does not do so rather than modifying it when new information comes in. That is stagnation, and stagnation is the road to irrelevance, and irrelevance is the road to oblivion. My god, it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm poetic as fuck.
They bed with demons when it suits them, and
The Illuminati.
cultivate business sense. They preen like diseased peacocks until they sense danger. They build mazes that they themselves become lost in. When I speak to the blue agent, my eyes and ears feel contaminated, as though I watched one of those reality television shows or read a comment section on the interwebs.
Fair. Illuminati kind of do represent the chaos, not chaos, it's a bad word to use these guys, the static of modern society and its irrelevance to, well, reality. Let's face it, most of the modern society creates a bubble around it in which it no longer, that for all the problems I have with the standard heroic model that she represents, they do at least, she is at least keeping some eye on the world. Now let's talk about her vision.
The world will always need demon slayers, but demon slayers do not always need the world. I sought refuge in high places, a place of great beauty and great stillness.
Ah, champion of order.
Apart from weekend training retreats, where the clan shared a facility with the Fear Nothing Foundation.
What?
I was alone.
The hell? Woman? Are you so dense that you require evil to literally have a demonic form walking down the street that you can't tell it, but you can't tell there's an organization torturing children in your own facility? Okay, you lost most of the points that I had for you, okay?
Then, dark demons cry, Gaia.
That would be an awesome metal band.
It came to me in a dream, and I knew I must return to the city.
Okay.
Dark demons cry,
No.
each word a prophecy, and each prophecy a thread which trails into the unknown.
Okay, I hate to say this, but I just realized that these ancient wisdom in rhyme and rhythm also make really good lyrics for metal bands. And do it sometime. Find some really interesting old poetic form of Taoist enlightenment, so to speak, and then try to put it to metal lyrics, and you'll probably find that it works well.
The dark has come to Tokyo. So have the demons.
They were always here.
A cry has been heard, and the Jingu clan are returning. And Gaia, well, you know who you represent.
Better than most. Okay, so yeah, that's the thing about these old style heroic scenarios. I mean, yeah, these guys are great and they're fulfilling a role. They're fulfilling the role they have in their mind of who they are as the champions of good and order, but they're not terribly effective, and they're really bad at seeing the actual evil in the world when they deal with the small manifestations, because I'm going to talk to somebody who has seen some of these manifestations. Now, you might remember the Kaiden refugee from, or will know, depending on which direction you're going on this, real time or down the playlist, this refugee, this nameless refugee. Now, the thing about the heroic model is they'll see people like this like a trophy to put on the shelf. Okay, we saved this one. We're good people because we saved this one. Except this person is broken. This person is on the shelf, and frankly, there's no one here tending them. I mean, God, these people need therapy. Look at them. Like I said before, there's probably a lot less than there used to be, and it's not because of monsters. So, let's see. You look at the big picture, you forget that the people like this, they have their own stories. Don't blame you. One of the things about metabolic poisons like alcohol is they will relieve stress, at least on a temporary level. In the Arkham Horror game, for example, the bottle of whiskey can be used instead of to offset sanity damage. And frankly, I call it a good rule. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, that's the thing about this. We are a hardened warrior of Gaia who has slaughtered thousands, if not millions by this point, and we forget just how horrifying it would be for these people to watch their family literally tear themselves apart, or to have someone or something become a thing that forgets itself because some dreaming god doesn't want to devote the brain power to trying to remember or learn how people actually are. Because remember, we're talking about two different times of reality that are fighting each other. There is the Gaian principle of reality, a consistency of reality that is an order within the chaos, and the dreaming ones simply want to restore everything to mindless chaos that never had form to begin with. In this way, in a lot of ways, they represent the Titans of Greek mythology, survivors of a previous age that have been chained by the gods, so the gods might set up their own realm, which of course makes us the champion of the god sides versus the Titans. I'm buying. Much as there ever was.
された死体に廃棄物、毒素、単銃。もう耐えきれなくなっちゃったのね。それ
No.
で最悪の汚れとなって吐き出されたのよ。
He's not wrong. The thing is, we're talking about corruption in a metaphysical sense, but you have to remember that it has an actual, more common meaning that feeds into the metaphysical concept. The corruption, for example, of DNA. Basically, the concept of an essence that if it turns against what it's supposed to be, the form of corruption and force of DNA that becomes like cancer, for example, or metaphysics, in which the purpose for which you were born with you turn away from, that leaves an opening for what you are to be dissolved away, to be forced to take into another, well, we'll talk about it a little bit, probably, another point of view, another frame of reference, or to have no frame of reference and simply be, well, a monster running around fulfilling only the most basis of desires. Philosophical. Anyways, the Noodle House.
ここは良いところよ。安全で家みたいに落ち着く場所。ずっと前から。この惨事が起こる前からこの場所が好きだったの。常連なのよ。
Yeah, the thing is, home and hearth is actually magic. There are goddesses of the hearth, which is the sanctuaries that we create against the chaos, which is probably one of the reasons that the filth don't actually penetrate into here, is that they maintain the hearth. She probably uses specific rituals to call upon the spirits of the hearth to keep this place a home, as opposed to just a place. Now, that's the reason why the city is overrun. In modern times, the idea of a hearth, something that you would live behind, something that would form a barrier between you and the rest of the world, is gone. These are all industrialized, they're all commonplace, they're all boxes, they're all the same, they're not owned, they don't belong, and they have no spirit. Therefore, the filth, as we talked about with the corruption, overtakes them quickly. Goddess in her own right.
あなたを守ってくれる。
あ
なたを傷つけるひどい存在に対しては恐ろしいの。まるでそう。
Dramatic.
彼女が私たちを守ってくれるわ。
Again, my theory that she's actually a personified goddess. Or an avatar of one, more accurately.
私が怖いのはここのお酒が切れちゃうこと。飲めなくなっちゃったら思い出してしまう。考えてしまう。
Sometimes there are things we should just forget. Anyways, that being said, I'm going to pop over to the next section, to the bathhouse. See you there. Okay, so here we are over at the bathhouse, and the Illuminati sign directly out, but of course that's just because it's painted on recently. In fact, I'm willing to bet you wouldn't have seen any of these demons during regular hours, just the servants, as it were. I know he's got a mannequin fetish, but it's kind of weird that he's keeping one in the front, too. Yeah, stop looking, dude. I pity her. Anyways, yeah, bathhouses. For the primary purpose of socializing and such, yes, they do exist, but they also, like I said, had a nasty underbelly where they're usually controlled by the organized crime in order to front prostitution, gambling, and other vices to the population. But let's go talk to the dudes doing this. And supposedly the one that's working with us, but as we say, as Kirsten would put it, he ain't working with us. He's working for us. Alright, tell me about yourself, Ineba. In beta. It's supposed to be some really bizarre pun.
You have the great fortune to speak to His Corpulence in Beda, Master of the House-In-Exile.
And there's that lower fragment.
Master invites you to consider his puissant battle prowess, available to those who can afford it.
Oh.
And I am the wondrous mask of Kanami, imbued with the spirit of Kanami, founder of the No Theatre. I command nearly all known languages and quite a few that time forgot. Down the centuries, this mask has known many owners, but my wise master says that is all you need to know about me.
Yeah, and you're wondering why this mask keeps wanting to shift over to our frowny mask. He wants to get away from this dude. Yeah, battle mastery. Come on, dude. You just sit back there and let everybody do the work. Just like Kirsten. Just a lot less class. In the 21st, that lost decade of economic downturn, Menibo signed an extended contract with the Children of Ai and Pyramid that runs through 2041. This helped them survive lean times. Today, the economic death booms once again. The Illuminati are VIP customers. The vibration of the Illuminati meets the vibration of the House-In-Exile. The two align. Tell me about it. And I wonder if there's a demon version of me that just groans every time it has to do work for these people. Alright, tell me about Tokyo.
Though he would be loath to admit it to his former brethren, Invader has found exile most profitable. Death is truly the province of you. Sacks of rotting flesh clinging to calcium deposits. Colourful language. And it just makes more sense to be where the market is at.
It is true, but you are not talking to a sack of flesh. I am an entity created entirely of anima, which is why I can take tank shells to the face. Oh, don't do this to me. Oh, there you are.
Survival, opportunism, and business sense come quite naturally to my master's mind. When life gets him
Sorry.
lemons, why, he squeezes the acidic juices upon the flayed flesh of his enemies.
Yeah, I'm not actually kidding. I've used that analogy today. This is in my life, yes. All right. Oh, no. Do not tell me the sound file. Oh.
Invader forged a new house with his fellow exiled demons on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Tokyo, they are able to undercut the rates of the hell dimensions. They are truly indispensable to the city's underworld. We boast a most impressive success rate on debt collection. The pre-war and post-war corporate boom brought even more prosperity. Invader became something of an urban legend. A great... truly a magnificent creature.
Really sucks when you have to praise your boss when he's listening.
Once, Invader was of the House of Jade Fangs. As the Edo period drew to a close in Japan, and with it the mortals' reliance upon the supernatural, the Oni suffered their bitterest infighting. Undermined from within his own house, Invader was sold off.
Okay, personal.
My master does not wish me to divulge so much of his past. Suffice to say, the rest is history.
Yeah, he was sold into slavery and then became exiled to here. And I gotta face it, I despise this individual, but he has proven to be quite opportunistic in his survival. Yes, and managed to make something of himself, where others would falter. Okay, this is where things get bad.
If I were to make a word-for-word translation of my master's outburst, your bowels would boil and the walls would bleed. Instead, let me just say that Invader would be happy to string every member of the Jingu clan on a single length of barbed wire in the mouth and out the anus to form a crude human centipede, which he would use as a mount.
And suddenly the Human Centipede movie became the least gross version of that.
The samurai and the Oni, they do not get along.
I can't imagine why. Then about the Korinto-Kai.
They are a hidden branch of the Yakuza, occulted gangsters and gambling masters. Their leader, Daimon Kyoto, has an almost demoniacal way of thinking.
Tell me more.
My master respects this, but Daimon cannot win, as he is merely human, even if he sometimes seems human. My apologies, but that is all we have to say on the matter.
They know something, but they don't know enough. I am going to enjoy talking to Damien on the third part of this.
In bed are the powerful.
Oh, God.
In bed are the flatulent. Apologies, Master, I misheard. In bed are the powerful. In bed are the fearsome. Is well aware of the invasion of his demonic siblings upon this earth.
And?
Imbedar has no intention of allowing them to run unchecked in the city and spoil his monopoly on demonic enforcement. On this, his and your species' goals align.
As I stated before, allies are not people you like. They're ones you have goals in common with at that moment. Today's ally is tomorrow's enemies, and the next day is neutral.
While my master's mercenary sensibilities mandate that he conduct himself in a businesslike manner, he will allow himself great pleasure in thwarting his kin. His vendetta stretches back 300 years, you see.
God, the thing is that if one day the vendetta for my character could stretch by that far, I suppose this is one of the things that keeps Immortals going, is having these little spats that just keep them, you know, engaged in the world. I suppose. Alright, Secret World?
My master has made exhaustive study of the reality television of the United States, and concludes that there is no longer any separation between hell and earth. All is homogeneous.
You're not lying. Okay, let's tell me about Kirsten.
We call the 1990s the lost decade.
Better than you know.
Japan's economic downturn soured local business both supernal and mundane.
Supernal.
Imbeda was forced to lower his prices and all but beg his biggest clients for contracts. From Mitsubishi to Sony, Toshiba to Yamaha, the Phoenicians to the Illuminati.
Yeah, but we've got the contract.
During this difficult time, it was the Illuminati who came through. With one phone call from Kirsten Geary, involving a multi-year deal with various exclusivity clauses, the financial stability of the House-In-Exile was assured. My master has many warm feelings towards Ms. Geary.
I don't want to know anymore. But I already know. Is there an owl out here? Cool. Anyways, yeah, as you can see, that's the thing about dude. Thing is he's a carnal demon, and I suppose I should be happier he has got those to exercise his probably extensive lust, because many demons are actually demonified versions of a fertility gods from previous civilizations. But we also got these. The thing is, honestly, because we work with the Illuminati, because we've got a crisis here, this isn't anything that we can do anything about, and we probably never will, unfortunately. A lot of times, it's not the morality or amorality that determines a person's actions. It's a practicality. In any case, we should run over and see the Damien and finish off this triad of the supernatural. Okay, it's not just him. Anyways, let's try the supernatural factions. Now, this one, of course, was connected to Illuminati. It will be the... okay, where are we? Let me make sure I got the map right. Okay, so I am going in the right direction. It's... where was I? Oh, yeah. This one's connected with the Dragon, the Masters of Chaos, and the ones that come out of the main story with the best win scenario, I guess, because they're supposedly using this chaos event to increase their power over the other two rather than, you know, stop the apocalypse. I mean, it's not like the Illuminati is doing this out of the kindness of their hearts. It's the end of the world means that the end of the stock market and their profits. So it's just the 1% saying that, you know, oblivion is bad for their financial portfolio. And of course, Templars would try to come off as the heroes in all this, but let me point out to you that they are the ones who invented banking. Yeah, the original evil. Okay, so as you can see, we've now moved over into the Pinkachao parlor. What is the name of this place anyways? Ace Joker. Zero's Wild. Now, pachinko is an electronic form of gambling, which is kind of like a slot machine, but with, excuse me, talking here. Ugh, gods. You guys are going to be monsters shortly. Anyways, yeah, but they use kind of like bright, colorful stuff. I mean, hell, there's even a Silent Hill 2 pachinko game. But like any slot machine, it's really rigged. Anyway, so yeah. As you can see, there are some people who have just been spending the last 18 months gambling away with their last possessions to the mafia. The mafioso are kind of casual about the guns and such, but my guess is, of course, that the Damien has them loaded up with anima-tipped weaponry, like the military had way back in Kingsport, but obviously... Kingsmith, but obviously... Seriously? Oh, God. Sorry, some of the anime stuff can be pretty damn creepy. Yeah, honestly... Probably just a fetish thing, but the dude's got to at least realize there's some biological issues here, and you're properly masked. I'll give you that much. All right, cool. I don't know what that means, but hello. Anyways, yeah, the Damien. The thing is that he is profiting off of this chaos because he knows it will end well. I know it'll end well because I played the sequel to this, the Moons of Madness. So I know the world's still around in 2046, and every single piece of property he takes off of these desperate people who don't think they're going to be living tomorrow will be one that he sells for his own profit. But let's talk to the Damien. I like him because he makes him very hard to be liked. By the way, if you don't know, over here on the left, these masks and such that are on the wall, that's the demon masks of the Oni. Now, the question is whether or not these are the demon masks of the ones that are invading, which I don't think so, because they don't look like they're in a while, or more accurately, probably the House-In-Exile, because he's kind of, you know, really good at getting rid of his competition. Never turn your back on this man.
I roll in the wake of black cats. I see the truth in the game, and I keep rolling. Though this be madness, yet there is method in it. Brevity is the soul of a smartass.
Yes, there is always method to the madness. That's one of the maesters. If you know anything about chaos, either in a mathematical or a magical sense, yes, there is always something beneath it. It's not just random, despite what we usually associate with the name. But of course, let's take a look at this. All right, cool. You even know this is how this worked. All right, Korinto-Kai. What of Damien Kyoto himself? Sweetlings say he is the great-grandson of the original founder of the Korinto-Kai. They say the founder back to Tokyo after a visit to New York's underworld, where he learned new tricks. He had flapper age slang dripping off his sharp tongue. Jeeper creepers, those roaring knights. It's him. I told you he was an immortal. He did something in New York with the Illuminati, don't forget, that allowed to get him immortality. Wow, I've got almost all of this. I should probably just get the 9 and be done with it. Did I get anything from... Nope. Whoa. Oh, for God's sakes, John. Just start... Alright, looking at John's stuff is like looking at comments in the wrong part of the internet. Seriously, I think I need a shower just from skimming that. Alright, let's go. Tell me about Tokyo.
The bomb changed everything. Chaos. Opportunity. This town's hotter than a hophead Zippo. Scary, yeah? But it blew away the city's arthritis.
Now let's talk about that. It sounds like he's being an opportunist here, but here is how the cycles of history work. There is a period of build-up, there's a period of stability, there's a period of stagnation, and then there's a disaster that tips it on its quarter. And yes, by the way, we are living through the last stage of that. That rips open everything and opens up new possibilities for the next cycle. Rome rose, Rome fell. And we are part of the chaos that arose from Rome's fall. If Rome hadn't fallen, well, we'd probably all be lower level slaves, or at best born into a family that has a small plot of land and still farming. But we didn't, because that is how the flat circle of time continues.
The ladder is shattered, and I've got designs to strut up the coils of the dragon. I'm going to take Tokyo, because it's the most unlikely thing. I am going to take my crew to the next level. And while I'm at it, I just might throat punch the apocalypse.
Hey, if he turns out to be the person who can handle the chaos, then he will take the throne. That's how the cycles of power work.
I'd fold and weep under all the pressure if I didn't enjoy it so much.
Hey, some people got to live dangerously.
The pachinko machine chimed in on the coming mayhem. It said to let the purple people eaters into the harbor
Venetians.
with that nasty box.
The bomb.
My skull is a graveyard of guilts and shallow graves. But it's all part of the plan.
Now, could you do that? Let's take a moment here, okay? We know in 2046 that this worked, that the apocalypse happened. We secured Lilith, and afterwards, as I believe, Emma used the world engine device to seal off the chaos, the hole in the world, and then the factions, 4 factions, including Orochi, all got together and had a really good PR campaign that says it was all just like some biological weapon and it's fine now. It's all fine. Go back to shopping. But what if this had to happen? Now think about it. If I told you, okay, that you had to let hundreds of people die on Pearl Harbor in order to get U.S. into the war to prevent fascism from creeping across the world, would you do it? Would you just sit back and just let that waves of plane come in and bomb the civilian population of Hawaii? And if you did, could you live with it?
Each of us is a losing hand in Ochukabu. 893. We're Yakuza in the shade. Skip us back a few centuries, and we started out as Bakuto.
People were kind of stuck with which one they wanted. No. As someone once said, the standard motto for these organizations is protect and serve.
In the 1920s, my great-grandfather learned some new tricks in New York and brought them back to Tokyo. We rattled the bones. We sold giggle water and coffin varnish to ossified sailors. Everyone was on the trolley.
Referring to, by the way, the thing about the Zippo previously is referring to heroin. He's also referring to opium and giggle water. That's probably just legal alcohol. Might be something more.
Those were the swinging nights.
Uh-huh.
The lights, the shadows, the contrast. We are Gatsby. I remember those nights like...
Uh-huh.
Huh? What?
Did we forget to keep the mask on there? Watching. It's probably appropriate. He's backed up against an entire wall showing the chaos of Dragon. If you haven't noticed that, by the way, that is Dragon, and Dragon is representation of primordial power and chaos. Directly behind him also refers to his association with the Dragon, which he never actually fully declares as he's part of, but he doesn't have to. The thing is also, and the other masks for the masks that he wears. See, he's always playing everybody. He is perfectly sane. He knows what he's doing, and all of this is an act to get to people to do what he wants.
Imagine the Oni, demons, born in one of the 1,000 hells. They bob for babies in boiling oil. They'll slide your intestines between their toes just for the sensation. Now, imagine what kind of demon you'd have to be to get kicked out of hell.
My guess is actually they were just kicked out of not through any amorality, but just they're lazy.
Still, they're handy droppers when you need a problem fixed and sent to the Swordbusters.
True, they're dumb muscle. Oh, he's going to have a real lot of things to say about the Jingu clan.
The clan of cancelled stamps and blue noses. They like looking down at us. We like looking up their skirts. Sanctimony is the only vice I don't peddle.
I can actually get behind that, by the way. As I was saying earlier with the Jingu, is you look at these guys as a kind of heroes. So they look at everybody else as either a child to be saved or an enemy to be sliced in half. the idea that other people would have autonomy and, you know, be able to figuring out their own way within the world probably defies them. Now, this may seem strange that I'm moving against traditional heroicism, but this has actually been a theme I've been dealing with a lot in fiction lately. Kind of a rethinking of the idea of the heroic model, partially because of this series. I mean, we are not a hero, as I explained in the main series. We are not here to save the world. We are here to save Gaia, who is the core of this world, and if necessary, as has happened between the shift of every age, we will blow the crust of the physical world into subatomic particles and reset. And actually, the fact that we're trying to do that, we're going to exhaust every other option before this point, is our form of mercy.
The swingingest wang doodle, bro, this side of the big sleep. It's the kitten's ankles. That's why I brought the Korinto-Kai to the party. I'm a walk-in leading a crew of crashers. But we're making friends. The occult is our new fix, man. We're token up, chasing the dragon.
You don't know, by the way, chasing the dragon, which is literally what he's doing, trying to get in with the dragon and take control of them, but which if you take the dragon path, you will find. And so I will actually go back and do some of the faction missions for the other two factions to give you an idea of their plotline. But it's also heroin, which is probably one of his main forms of income. I'd like to say about drug use, if there weren't any users, there wouldn't be a market.
Oh, that Kirsten Geary is a bear cat. They're all billboards. I like the drugs, the parties, and the moxie. Past that, they're as deep as a plate. My fork goes screech. Love the spread, little boy Blue, but I need a more substantial meal.
Yeah, and I'll agree with that one. Yeah, speaking about drugs, yes, the legalization concept that would take money away from the criminal organizations that just puts it into the government, which you could probably say is also another one of these organizations. Yeah, I've been having a lot of rethinks about power structures lately. But, I mean, given the collapse of most governments into a quasi or fully fascist state these days, you begin to, and how easily populations accept it, you begin to actually wonder where the degree of morality versus utilitarian power is in this world. But let's talk about that not pachinko machine you have in the back.
The world has other acts.
Mm-hmm.
And rises and falls and rises. Way I hear it, we're in the third act. No, was it the fourth?
It's fourth.
The board gets wiped. Do over. Sometimes the tech and the toys slip on through to the next game.
Right, as the Beast told us, that thing hasn't always been a pachinko machine. Now, that's deal with the concept of what we refer to as artifacts and also referred to as frame of reference. Now, artifacts are literally a word that means something that is not of our time. In other words, most of the time it refers to things like antiques. Like if you see a 19th century writing desk, it doesn't have a lot of utility, but you can use it for our world. But in this case, we're talking about from previous ages of creation. This is actually a theory that some things do exist from previous ages of creation in our current time, or things from the future coming backwards. Yeah, transtemporal physics, always fun to play with. In any case, what happens, though, if an object comes into our frame of reference is that it must become an object that fits into that frame of reference and not completely alien to it. In other words, so whatever the pachinko machine was for, probably not a fortune-telling device, but an augury device, one that would show you forecasts of the future, translated into the pachinko machine, which then he found, which has been probably what he found in the 1920s and how he's been using it to get immortality and everything else. Because as I spoke before during his episode, way back when, 99, I think, that device shows him a map of space-time, past, present, and future. That's why he said that linear time was so confining, because he doesn't actually operate into it.
The pachinko machine was not always a pachinko machine, but it always was.
You see, when we switch from one age to another, first, second, third, fourth, and the potential fifth, which we do not come at the end of this game, because, like I said, we know the fourth continues, is the fact that it has a continuous past, present, and future from the beginning to the end of the universe, and when it flips, that entire timeline changes. So therefore, yes, in third age, that pachinko machine was an augury device. Always was, always had been in the third age. When the third age was, as I said, blown into subatomic particles, and the fourth age started, it had an entire history, past, present, future, reconstructed to fit into our timeline, became the pachinko machine. Yeah, I want to see what this guy thinks about chaos.
It's not feng shui. It's not old men eating fortune cookies and shitting diarrhea wisdom. No. It's not white folk mimicking spiritual depth in the New Age book aisle.
True. Gods.
Ripping your face off, leaping through a plate glass window because it turns the opposition skills green. It's knowing exactly how many teeth, fingers, and toes you have to lose to get exactly what you want. And then anteing up.
Chaos. All right. So some of you may be also watching my Cultist Simulator F series, in which I'll go into this about a cult theory about between chaos and order. That chaos is a primary element from which all things arise, and order is a temporary manifestation, which means that knowing how the patterns of chaos work and the rules by which that run deeper and older than the rules of order, the rules that we think of as reality, means that he can manipulate and know where and when things are going to happen using that extemporal anchor he's got, transtemporal anchor he's got behind me.
It's elemental audacity. The end of days is here. That's it for the race. Unless we win. But we are not going to just barely pull through. We are going to massacre them. We are going to decimate the dark spots. Why? Because it is the least likely outcome. Because it is impossible. Because we have no business doing it. You go too far, and reality snaps like a rubber band. Then we're flying. Our laughter will shred the dark days.
What he's referring to is that Gaia wishes to continue in whatever form. She's changed form 4 times so far that we know of. In whatever form, she will continue. And if any entity, like, say, the daemon, wants to help her keep going, she will back them and she will reward them. Because she is an instrument of chaos originally that brings order. She determines what the order is. She determines what reality is. And Daemon knows who to butter up. He's not going to get involved into petty samurai/demon outbursts. He's not going to deal with politics. He's not just going to look at his money and wonder at a bigger house or a younger wife. He is going to go where the true power is, behind every faction, behind every manifestation, and he is going to court it.
That is the only sensible way to face oblivion, Jack. If
True.
The world dusts out, my gapped grin is the last thing they will see.
You gotta go. Goat style.
It's the fool's prerogative. It's why we taint our honor with irreverence. In the mad days, respect is going to get the world dead. Doing the impossible is a rudeness to reality. So, I practice the sacred obscenities.
That he does. Oh yeah, by the way, that's the Jingu clan trophies he keeps. Notice that... Oh, there's another Oni one there. There's the not pachinko machine. Anyways, I never really know why bamboo is a thing, but you know, it probably makes the air clean. Alright, so yeah, those are the 3 factions, and let's get some distance here. I'm going to go over the park, because I'm pretty much going to start the next section over here by the park anyways. I don't know if I record it now or later, but, oh, for crying out loud. It's like the sea image. Even if it's contaminated. Anyways, yeah, we'll get over to this next section on the part that we'll do the streets of Tokyo, but the thing is that are the 3 factions. Yeah, it may have sounded a little weird, some of my philosophy behind power, but we are dealing in this scenario, in this world, we are dealing with a dark truth about the nature of reality. Because the whole thing about the Secret World game is it's always fun to look at all of these different factions and different concepts and myths all working together. But if you think about it for a little too long, if you think about all of this happening beneath the surface, the illusion of normalcy that people pass through in this world, you begin to wonder, are the ignorant better off because they pretend that their world makes sense, or are we better off because we know it doesn't? Anyways, this is Fantastic Worlds. It's probably pontificating far too long at 2 o'clock in the morning, but hopefully you found it to some degree entertaining. Anyways, of course, this one was one of the first unlocks. There'll be a bonus episode, probably one of the ones we just shot by there. There is a mission, sorry, brain at 2 o'clock in the morning. There is a mission over there in front of Pachinko that will probably be the next one that we do as the bonus episode. And again, there are 2 other sets of interlude / bonus episodes, plus the epilogue, which I go over. Well, a lot of the stuff happened during the final episode 118, that I didn't have a full time to comment on, simply because I wanted to end it off with something a little better, and then we'll finally get to Lust from Beyond, unless, of course, we get to 625 subscribers, which is 24 subscribers from now, and we'll have another couplet. You guys really do like this series, and frankly, I am more than happy to bring it to you. But yes, we got a bunch of stuff to still go over. We've got the whole South African campaign. We've got the which probably 7-8 episodes. We've got the other 2 factions, and we've got a bunch of other small stuff that I've had to skip by because it wasn't fully related to the main story. But we will get to it that time and unlocks to go. Anyways, I will see you next time. Bye.
You will see the dawning of a new age. To be a monarch or a beggar. To lose everything or to become a god. To stand with us or against us. The choice is yours.